So it's Metal Thursday. So today we're going to talk about writing a simple riff off of a typical modern metal progression, which is a 1-6-4. And I'm in drop B for this. A word about tone real quick. When I first started playing, I used a cheap amp, and I wanted to try to emulate some kind of metal tone that I heard at the time, so I did the typical scooped sound where I cranked the lows and highs and turned down the mids all the way and cranked the gain all the way up. I mean, broke the knob, trying to squeeze all the gain I could out of my amp. Well, now that I've kind of gotten better gear, and really in retrospect, thinking back, I could have done this with my stuff I had at the time. It just wasn't as good, and I wouldn't achieve the sound that my favorite artists were achieving with entry-level gear, and it's not, I'm not meant to, of course. But I realized that I like to use, and this is what works for me. If that other sound works for you, that's fine. I don't want to be too critical, but for me, I like a balanced gain, or a balanced EQ, and then a moderate amount of gain, not cranked all the way up, around halfway up usually. So where if I cut it with my volume knob on my guitar, I can still get a nice clean sound. And even when I have it full blast, I can pluck very softly and still hear each note distinctly, where it has that natural attack, or that natural sensitivity, dynamics. So play with dynamics. What do you mean play with dynamics? I'm playing as loud as I can, right? That's the musician's joke. So on to that progression. Anyway, so play around your tone. Try to shape it in a good way. So on to that progression. We're gonna play just open drop for our 1, and then 8th fret for our 6th, and 5th fret for our 4. So in this case, it's B, G, and E. So let's start with 8 simple downstrokes on open B, then 4 on G, 4 on E. So the next thing we're going to do is divide it into 16ths so that we can syncopate it. So it sounds like this. So then after we divide it into 16ths, we're going to syncopate it. We're going to offset it by a 16th and go back to playing 8ths. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's remove those other 8th notes so we just have the syncopated entrance on each chord. And then we're going to fill it in with scale notes. We're going to use this tonic key scale. You can play one whichever position is comfortable. I use this one. Or this. And then just essentially to start, randomly select a few notes as you go. Let's start this slowly and see what happens. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like that. So you can play around with it, speed it up, mess around. Stuff like that. This is meant to be a basic skeleton. I'm not just trying to give you a tool so you can write cliche riffs, but rather work from this, change some of the chords, use some chromatic notes in the scale and things like that. So play around with it, have fun with it.